Welcome in, y'all. We are your hosts, Bull P and Timmy G. And man, what a great day to be a volunteer, right? I mean, so many great things happen today. We're going to talk about a lot. Number one, I know everybody wants to talk about this basketball game, the win over Alabama. I think that could give us a number one seed. We'll take a look at the bracketology and how our seeding might end up looking. We're going to talk about the NFL Combine. It's still kind of going on, but I think that we had a really nice showing today. And if we have enough time, we'll touch on some baseball stuff. I didn't get to watch really most of that. Well, I probably watched most of the game, but I didn't get to watch all of it because I was going back and forth, having to, making sure that I've got the Combine stuff together and all of that too. But either way, y'all please do us a very big favor. Make sure to like and subscribe. And man, I want to start this thing off first and foremost and say that with the way that game played out versus Alabama, in a must-win game, I think a lot of the things that we talked about, Tim, P, all of us, we've talked about some of the things that this team needed to work on, what we wanted to see. I felt like we saw that in spurts. There's a lot of players that stepped up in a very major way. But for Meshack to come through in a clutch like he did, because it wasn't just that, that buzzer beater. It was also the way that he is just hustling and getting free throws and hitting free throws and just everything that happened at the end of the game. I don't think that it could have happened to a better player on Tennessee's team, because I know a lot of us as fans have been very hard on Shaq, but he's a guy that bleeds orange, loves this entire, state, loves the program, loves the school, loves the team, all of that good stuff. And, he's just like a, pro's pro, really. I know that he's not a pro, but I feel like the things that I've seen and heard with him, I'm just super happy for him. And hopefully this kind of gives him some more confidence moving forward, which is exactly what we need. But what we're going to go ahead and do, man, is let's pull up these stats, because I always like to look at the stats. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully y'all can see this. I try to make it a little bit bigger today. So we're not really going to look at Alabama stuff. Tennessee did win the game 79-76. And, man, it was just a back and forth grind. There was times when I was like, man, Tennessee is definitely going to win. And then towards the end, I was like, man, we got to find a way to win. And teams that can do that, we could talk about Tennessee's baseball team last season, right, y'all? Did the exact same thing. In situations where we had to win, we found ways to do just that. And that's what championship teams do. So I think that we might be on the right path to really make some noise. But either way, we can kind of go through some of these stats, and y'all can chime in too. Tim, did you have any thoughts that you wanted to kind of talk about with this game tonight?
Man, I just want to touch on what you said, man. Just praise to Jemai. I mean, he's such a good kid. I don't think you can find a better person. And it was really awesome, everything he did. I mean, he, like you said, it wasn't just that last shot. He tied up the ball to get that jump ball on that one possession, and just everything that happened. The way it ended was absolutely wild. They burnt like 2 timeouts and then couldn't inbound the ball with 5 seconds. Man, Alabama fans got to be seething right now, and I'm here for it. I love it.
Yes, sir.
It's awesome, man. I know we talked about this. I don't know if anybody else noticed this, but go back and watch the rewind of the tape. The guy's trying to call a timeout, and Big Barnes is over there freaking out. He don't know that he shot it yet or something. He's over throwing his hands up and then drains that stuff. Literally drained it from the word "the."
Yeah,
and then did the slow walk on the way back. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
It's gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it most definitely was. Go ahead, Pete.
Oh, no. I was going to say, I actually missed the game live. I was out with my wife, so I actually missed it live. So I just saw some of the highlights. But yeah, man, I think that's huge. Something we talked about earlier today, Bull, is, what if Meshack can be a guy that consistently can give you, 9-10 points, and goes out the night, drops 11, and ends up being kind of the hero of that game with the game-winning shot. I think if he can continue to provide continue to produce like that, I think he's a guy, man. He just kind of gives us that extra spark. Like when he can hit his shot, when he can get some confidence going, and hopefully that shot gives him some confidence. If he can consistently put points on the board for you, consistently be a double figure guy, I mean, this team's gonna be really tough to stop. So super proud of him, man. Just proud of the whole entire team for getting the win. Anytime you can beat Alabama in anything, it's always a beautiful day. So love to get another W against those guys. So just proud of a hard fought win for those guys.
100%. Actually, let me go ahead and chime in with the chat, because I know that y'all have been waiting a little bit longer than we wanted y'all to. That's 100% my fault. had some issues coming into this thing, but we wanted to make sure that the show was as clean as possible before we did get started. But from my dog, Matt SS, saying boom, and you already know, baby. Hey, look, I'm so happy for all of us, especially everybody that's been tuning into the post-game, pre-game shows that we've done on this channel, because it's been so much back and forth. How can we get there? I think that maybe everyone feels a lot more confident that Tennessee, I wouldn't necessarily say that we're there, but, man, we are one step closer with the way that we were able to win today. And then Matt is also saying, Meshack, great game from him. It wasn't just about that last shot. It wasn't just about, those last few seconds or, whatever, like that last minute. It was about how he played over the course of the game. I mean, great defense. And I think sometimes, most of the time, hopefully, whenever you're living right, things tend to kind of work in your favor. So I just could not be any happier. And he's also laughing about it. Yes, sir. Got the faces on there. He's saying bye-bye now, Alabama. And then from Tim right here saying go Big Orange. He was in here early. From G-Force is saying, he's saying, yes, sir, overcame some bad calls to get the W. Very happy for Meshack. He deserves his flowers. Yeah, so that's an excellent point right there coming from G-Force. I feel like, and Tim, since you also watched it, you might feel the exact same way. I feel like so many calls went in Alabama's favor. I feel like every time they came down the court, it was probably it had to be 40% of the time they came down the court, they were getting fouled. They called a lot more fouls in their favor than they did for Tennessee. And then prior to all the stuff that happened right there at the end, ZZ, man, Sears steps on the back of his foot, and they don't even call a foul. And, we obviously would have been able to shoot too. That would have helped us out because I think it was only like 40-something seconds left, maybe 50. So that was big. And then also there was a situation where we get tied up and the ball goes back to Alabama, but the defense was just so lock solid right there that they couldn't even get it in, right? So this was a game, Tim and P and everybody else, that I feel like Tennessee was just destined to win, even though everything kind of felt like it was stacked, in Tennessee in Alabama's favor. We still found a way to daggone pull this one out, so I'm excited about that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And I just think this is the team that, you just look at this team over the past few weeks, man. They just really kind of seem to be hitting their stride, man. Like there's not an easy team to beat, man. And I think it's a good time to be hitting your stride heading into March. I think this team's getting hot at the right time.
Yeah, I do
too. 100%.
Yep. And so we also have from Dwayne Mitchell saying, gotta love Meshack hitting that big one. Such a team player. Yeah, man. Loving seeing it. And look, hopefully he can see all of this stuff too. I feel like if we're ever going to be negative about any of our players or our teams on social media, whenever they do something good, like we also need to be positive too. Like let them know, and I think that Shaq needs that. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully everybody will reach out some type of a way to him. I think that'd be awesome. So Vols are your daddy saying amazing game. Also saying Meshack. So everyone's feeling the whole Meshack thing.
Yes, sir.
And Unsung is saying Meshack took 30,000 3-point shots over the all season, and it paid off today. So something else about Shaq and P, you had kind of touched on it. Over the past couple of weeks, it does feel like the team has found a different groove, but part of that has been that Meshack isn't turning down as many open looks. Now, it was one that he turned down in the corner earlier today. I was like, dude, that was a bad. And he actually ended up, I think that Alabama ended up getting it. He tried to pass it to Iggy. So he does still need it. We all need to make sure that we're shooting the open looks, but I'm just happy he was able to make up for it. So, yeah, Meshack can shoot. There's no question about that. And from Lit Life is saying Meshack, yes, sir. And from my dog Mike Harmon saying that the refs were determined to give Bama the #1 seed. Sorry, Elephant Nation, you lost. Yeah, that's how I felt. And Lit Life is also saying that best of my life right now because of that. Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and start talking about some of these stats, y'all. Let's go ahead and get into some of these stats. So #1, I think that Felix did some nice things. So he got 5 points for you. How many rebounds did he get? He got 9 rebounds. I think that he played very physical, and he typically does, but just as far as going out and getting boards, got to have him continuing to play with that type of confidence and scoring. And again, y'all can always just jump in at any point. And then, I think that Iggy, he only dropped 3 today, so he hasn't been scoring as many points here lately. But just knowing that he can get open, knowing that he's a problem whenever he does get open, knowing that he can put the ball on the floor, make his own shot, he can get to the basket, draw the fouls. And he's also a very good passer. You know what I'm saying? He actually had one to Felix earlier in this game that I think was really beautiful. I think that was nice. And, his scoring, that's going to come. But he's opening up other opportunities for other players to score. He only got 5 rebounds today, which I think his average was at like 8. I don't know if it's still at 8, but so under his average there. But I think that he played very well. It was also sometimes I think that he might have been matched up on Sears. I know that Felix was matched up on Sears one time, and they both played great defense on him. To have your bigs be able to play really good defense versus those types of guards that are high-level guards in college basketball, that says a lot about this team, being able to guard 1 through 5 from 5 through 1, if that makes sense. So I just think that the versatility of this team in all phases, we should be one of the favorites to win the whole doggone thing, especially whenever the offense really gets clicking. So let's talk about ZZ, right? He dropped 15, which is really good. Now, he got into some early foul trouble, and we can't really have him doing that. But I think that whenever he did that, bringing Gainey in early, it feels like every time that Gainey has to come in because ZZ's in some sort of a spot and he knows that the team really needs him, he comes out and he drops. What did he drop tonight? 18?
Yeah.
18 for us? Come on,
Yeah.
Yeah. Gainey's my guy. I absolutely love Gainey. He's definitely that spark plug for you. So glad to see that he had a good day today. We were talking about him as well. He's a guy can get to 17, 19 points, and he drops right in the middle, drops 18 points for us today. So, absolutely love Gainey. Kind of shocked. I was looking at the minutes that these guys got. I don't know. Is Felix typically getting the most minutes in the whole team, and then is Igor only typically getting 20 minutes? The minutes seem kind of funny today. Not really sure what that was about. Or if you guys have any idea, maybe why Igor played so little, or.
Probably just matchups. If I had to, maybe I'm wrong, but maybe that's the way they're matched up.
I think that it was because Iggy got into foul trouble. Iggy got in foul trouble. And then also Phillips, he got into foul trouble. He got like 3 fouls back to back to back. So that's why they didn't play as many minutes. But even still, I think that Iggy is a guy that, he could have played a few more minutes for us today. And Tim, to your point, it could have been something to do with the matchups and some of the different looks that we wanted to put out there. But, I think that Gainey stepped up in a very major way. Some of the things that I love about Gainey is that whenever he's shooting that mid-range with confidence, didn't y'all see how good he looked? Dude, breaking people off and then I'm shooting it like with the highest level of confidence. Also trying to get to the basket. Whenever we have our guards playing like that, especially if we can do that throughout the course of the tournament, this team is going to be very tough to stop. It's just about confidence, y'all. That's really all it is. We got guys that can score. I promise you. We're seeing it, right? They can score. Obviously, defense is always going to be there, but shooting with confidence for me that's critical. So Gainey played great. I also think that his defense looked really good. Let me see, how many turnovers did he have? I always want to check that. 0 turnovers for him tonight. They're saying that he had 0 steals, but man, he played some really tight defense in some very critical situations. Did a great job of not fouling. You know what I'm saying? Like just a great job of that. But taking it back to what ZZ did, he had some careless turnovers. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes he does, I think, try to do a little bit too much. He's our point guard. He's the leader. So sometimes he has to be that spark plug. And I know that some people have kind of speculated, does the offense take a step back whenever he comes to the floor? I don't think that that's really what the case is, but it is a little bit of a different pace. But that's something else. I feel like everyone moved very well without the basketball, which helps the offense out in a very major way. So I'm not mad at ZZ. I think that he played a really good game. Could he have played better? Yes. Will we need a little bit more? Will we need a cleaner game from him in some of these bigger situations? For sure. But ZZ would probably be the first to, say that. So, proud of him with limited minutes compared to what he normally gets, and just stepping up in some really, really, really big ways. So, also, man, Chaz, he had 18, had some really nice shots. He also, he was another player. So right there at the end, this is prior to Meshack stuff. With him driving to the basket, getting that and one, and just being consistent with, hey, I will take it to the basket. Some of the calls, should have been fouls on Chaz that we didn't get, but he's a guy that I also feel like he's playing with a whole lot of confidence, on offense and defense. How many rebounds did he get? Because he's a guy that I think, so he got 4 tonight. Yeah. for tonight. And y'all tell me what y'all think, but I feel like he can really help us out in that category. That's something that not too many people are talking about. But I feel like he could be a 6 to 7 rebound sort of a guy whenever it really counts for us.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's big enough, he's athletic enough to be able to go up there and compete and get some rebounds. And you can see, like, we don't really have that true dominant rebounder. I mean, Felix, he's typically going to be your number one guy. And then, of course, Igor. I mean, I definitely think there's room. And to me, when I played basketball, I was never a guy. I couldn't really shoot, couldn't really dribble, couldn't really do much. But what I could do, I could play defense and I go get rebounds. So I think being a guy that can go out there and rebound, like, that's just effort. That's effort and want to. And I think that he can definitely continue to elevate that. And the more he does that, get that number up from 4, you can get, push for 8 to double digits, 8, 9, 10 rebounds a game. That only helps us get second chance opportunities, and limit some second chance opportunities for the opposing team, which is going to give us more possession. So, I mean, it's just all about playing all around fundamental basketball, man. So, glad to see that he was able to find ways to kind of manufacture offense, as I like to say. Manufacture offense. I think about D Wade a lot. I can remember a lot of games when his shot wasn't really going down, but he would just find ways to get to the rack, get to the line, something like that. I think that's what we saw from Chaz today. So just proud to see him find different ways to score, and this gives you a little more confidence heading into the playoffs, because hey, when the three ball's not falling, he can find other ways to impact the game now. So just excited about his growth overall throughout this season. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, and then excuse me, I also think that his defense is, and I think we've talked about that for like the past month or so, but his defense has gotten a lot better. So he's not somebody that you necessarily would say, hey, we're going to go straight at him all the time. So I think that that's another part of this year's team that's better than last year's team, because as good of a scorer as Dalton. Yeah, man, listen, Dalton was obviously, he was next level scorer. His defense was, I would give it, I would say that he was solid with it, right? But he was a guy that people tried to go at consistently. I don't think that Chaz he's not that much of an issue on defense for us. So, I think that this starting lineup, it's a lot more solid on offense and defense. It's not really too many weaknesses there. Obviously we don't have the best scorers at every spot, but whenever Shaq, like we all just talked about, whenever he comes out and he can find ways to also manufacture points, and even if he's not scoring, if he's trying to take it to the rack, if he's shooting the open looks, if he's drawing fouls, that's going to be very beneficial for Tennessee. I think that he did a really good job at the stripe today, shooting 4 or 5, and from the field he was 3 of 5. And this is the Meshack that we need on a much more consistent basis. So hopefully he is here to stay. K. Phillips, he didn't play too much tonight, but I think that he always plays tough. You definitely need that. A lot of his stuff is just not going to show up inside of the stat sheet, but super proud of him. Bishop Boswell, there was a time, man, when Iggy tried to pass the basketball to him, threw it like 5 feet over his head, and Iggy was getting mad at Boswell. And, bro, like, you got to give him a much better pass. So I don't want to see Bishop Boswell being the scapegoat of this team anymore, right? Like, because we're going to need him. So that's one of my next things. Now, I'm always looking towards how else can we get better now, right? Because we check off this box, that box. Well, what's the next box look like? Bishop Boswell needs to be able to give us something coming off the bench. I want to see it consistently. I think his defense looks really good, but can he give us some points on a consistent basis? That would be huge. Even if he only plays for 4 or 5 minutes, which I think in the tournament, I want to start to see him getting 4 to 5 minutes, but he has to show us that we can trust him first. So outside of that, we already talked about Gainey. Hey, look, what did y'all think about what Darlin Stone did? I think he hit, how many threes did he hit? 2. So he hit 2 threes, which is huge. Ended with 6 points. I think he did some nice things playing defense too, just kind of like locking folks up. But what did y'all think about him tonight?
Well, I didn't see it live, but just looking at the stats, Dubar, he's one of my guys. I absolutely love him, and he's another guy. Talk about Meshack. I think you can kind of throw Dubar in that conversation as that wild card. If he can give you pretty much what he gave you tonight, hey, just give me an efficient 6 points, or give me an efficient 8 to 10 points. That is unbelievable from him. He can come off the bench and go 40%. I think that is from 3-point range. Like, that's big time. And you like to see him get some rebounds and stuff like that. But I think he's a big kind of physical body that can be another option for you as a defender. Can kind of match up with some guys that may be a problem for other guys. I think he's a versatile piece, and I'm still waiting for him to really hit his stride. He's another one that I think there's still a lot of untapped potential. But I mean, love the numbers I saw from him tonight, man. You know, 2 of 5, 6 points. Like that, he needs to live in that realm. You know what I'm saying? 11 minutes. I think he can do that. He can do that consistently. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. A lot of potential on this team, like guys that we've seen get hot at times and have great games that, you know, I just think there's a lot of potential on this team going into the tournament for some of these guys to hit their stride. And if they do, I mean, with the defense that Rick Barnes has and, you know, some of the leadership on this team, man, I think it's going to be a really interesting season. So,
yeah. For sure. So I'm gonna get to this one right here from Mike Harmon. He's talking about the basket interference call, saying that we never got the points for that. I did not realize that, but yeah. Wow. So they were obviously cheating. But look, like we already know as Tennessee fans, Alabama cheats whenever they play us, especially if it's a big game. They do it in every single sport. They've done it since we've started playing them. That's who they are. I don't know how they can get to those refs, but that has to be what it is. So somebody needs to look into that. I didn't personally realize it. Tim, did you notice that too?
No, when he mentioned it, I was like, oh yeah, they didn't, and I was like, but I mean, I didn't, you know, we won, so I wasn't thinking about it much. But once I saw him put that in chat, I was like, you know, they did.
That's crazy. Yeah. I wonder if there's going to be any repercussions for those refs or whoever would be in charge of that. You know what I mean? I mean, because that's a huge deal. Because whoever would have lost, you know?
Repercussions for a ref? What are we talking about? This is
right.
buddy. Hey,
what
that guy's they're getting a raise. Come on, man.
Right.
They're going to get a raise out of that.
Right. Getting attaboy, you know, and all
that. They're getting accolades for that. That's something that I did not realize at all, but I'm happy that y'all brought it up. It's something I have to go back and, you know, maybe look at closer. And but yeah, I do want to take a look at how I want to look at the seeding because obviously that was the biggest point. I mean, it's always good to beat Alabama. We all know that. But for me, the biggest thing is always about winning championships, baby. That's the main thing that I want to do. So right here, so this is from CBS Sports, and y'all can just kind of look at how the other sides of the brackets are right now. So they have Tennessee seeded as the number two seed, and this is obviously this is prior to our game tonight. So they have us on the west side with Houston. Who else is pretty good over there?
I actually love that.
Mizzou, yeah, but outside of that, I don't see too many other teams.
I don't see
too many other teams that bother me.
I love that draw. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't looked at the other regions, but this is like about as good of a draw as you could hope for. You know what I mean? Yes. I mean, you got Houston, but I mean, heck, that's a good draw.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I would say that Missouri. I've heard some things about Arizona. I haven't really seen them play much. But those might be some tough games. But yeah, outside of that, really nobody scares you. And actually, if you go through all of this stuff, and P and I, you know, we was just talking about this earlier today. There's really nobody that I'm too afraid of. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, Duke, that would be a really tough one. I think that we could beat Auburn. We should have beat Auburn, you know, in Auburn earlier. You know, really, there's not too many. Actually, this side where Alabama is the number 1 seed at, you know, they've got Creighton. I've seen Creighton. Creighton looks good. You know, Marquette's always tough. Obviously, you know, you got teams like Michigan State. Michigan State's pretty good. I mean, there's a lot more teams over there. Now, obviously, all of this stuff could definitely change. But what we're thinking now is that Tennessee we could end up with that 1 seed, maybe in the Midwest. But maybe you would want for us to get the number 1 seed out west and then move Houston on over to the Midwest and leave everything else as is, and then Tim too. But you know, what are y'all's thoughts with this? Just off of the cusp, and actually, Tim, I'm gonna ask you, what do you think about this? If Tennessee does get the number 1 seed inside of the Midwest with that sort of a lineup?
It looks a little bit tougher than the West from what I'm looking at right now, but. You know, I think we're going to have to wait and see. Normally I wouldn't say, say that the SEC tournament means anything, but the SEC tournament this year, you know how many quad 1 wins you can get out of an SEC tournament this year? Yeah. Like it's pretty wild. Like the SEC tournament is definitely going to affect the way it's seeded. I mean, if we go in and as long as we don't go in and lose the first game, in a way, I would like to lose the first game. To be honest, and just sit back and rest a little bit. You know what I mean? Not beat ourselves up and nobody gets hurt, and like Well, we'll see what happens, man. I'm not.
Yeah.
I want to put any voodoo on us.
Yeah,
like you say,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's an interesting point. Yeah, go out there and go out there and kind of hurry up and lose and just start getting ready for the tournament. I mean, I'm not, I would not be mad at that at all. But I absolutely love the draw. If we do end up as the 1 seed in the West, that'd be very nice. I mean, you avoid Kentucky, you avoid who for whatever reason we had trouble with this year. You avoid Auburn. Yeah, you avoid Duke and Cooper Flag. Who else? There's another team up there we avoid. Florida. You avoid Florida. So I mean, you're avoiding a lot of teams, and I mean, you know how we look at it. We don't want to avoid anybody,
Yeah.
but you know what? I think this is a team that it would behoove them, I think, to avoid, just avoid a couple teams here and there, and just only really, you know what I mean? It would behoove them, I think, if they can make it to like the Elite Eight or Final Four, and not have really played, one of those 4 or 5 teams we just mentioned. I think that would really benefit these guys. So I absolutely love the draw. I think we can go all the way, honestly. Quite
yeah. Yep. So we will see how everything looks. We'll take a look at that at some point next week once the new seeds come out. And obviously that's probably not going to be exactly how it's going to look, but we're getting to a point now where, I mean, shoot, we don't really have any more tough games left on our schedule. So we should be able to pretty much win out. Hopefully, we have to stay locked in, but I'm thinking that Tennessee could end up with that number 1 seed. Tim, you brought up a very interesting point about maybe the SEC tournament games could mean some more this season. I mean, I'm hoping that it doesn't, just because this is our first chance to, or this could be our chance to get our first number 1 seed. And I would just hate for, with this being the toughest year that the SEC has ever been, for that to actually mean something I don't remember when it's ever really meant anything. But I think that we're all kind of saying the exact same thing. Go out, win 1 or 2 games. That should be good enough. And let's just let guys kind of get rested up. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man. Let me see. Are there any more questions, or let me see what people have to say on that. Right here from Vols, Are You Daddy, saying 59-55 was supposed to be the score at the time. Okay, so we're taking it back to that. Yep. Okay. Excellent. Let me see if somebody's got something to say about this right here. Saying it. Okay, good. Yeah. Hey, look, anytime that something like this happens, like if Tennessee's getting cheated, you got to be vocal about it, man. Like, you got to go to social media, because y'all's voices are very, very powerful. All right. And so Matt is saying that bracket will change 100%. Of course, we all know that this stuff will change, but we're just kind of pulling up for fun, just to see how things would look at this point. So, all right, y'all, let's go ahead and shift gears here, man. I want to talk about the NFL Combine, because we had 3 guys that went today. And actually, the first guy right here, Brew, he didn't participate. Now, the wide receivers for the second group, which is what Brew and Dante were both in, they're still going. And we wanted to make sure that we could get this video out. So I have no idea if he's going to go through any of the on the field stuff. I didn't see him doing it in the little bit of spurts that we did get to see. But he did come in at 6'2.5". Let me actually make this a little bit bigger. Yep. So 6'2.5", 209 pounds. Arms are at 32 inches. His hand size is good. I think anything over 10, I'd be scared personally to go pick a wide receiver with hands that aren't very, very close to 10 inches, if not 10 inches, just because the smaller that the ball is inside of your hand, the easier it will be for you to catch it in different elements and things like that. So he didn't do anything today. But I think that at the pro day, which is going to be at some point in early March, I think that he could run 4.4s. Now, I would like to get y'all's thoughts on that with Brew. Do y'all think that he could potentially be a 4.4 guy? And let me also say this. I think that this was the fastest wide receiver group in the history of the NFL Combine. It was like 10 or 12 guys or something that ran sub 4.5, so 4.4 and under, or it might have been sub. Yeah, I think that it was some sort of a 4.4 and under. So do y'all think that maybe Brew could be somewhere in the 4.4 range? And if he does hit that, do you think that maybe his draft stock goes up? Because right now it's not looking like he will get drafted.
I hope that's not the case, because I think he could be. I don't know, man. But this is just the way I feel. I feel like he's got that dog in him, man. I mean, I feel like if he could, if a team took a chance on him, he's got the right body for it. He's got the right attitude, the right mentality. I think he could have a really good career.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, man. I think that the fact that he's down to what 6'2", 6'2.5", 210. To me, that means that he is gearing up to try to run a really fast 40. So I could definitely see him getting under 4.5. Being a 4.45 type guy. A 4.46, 4.4. Something like that. I could see him being like in the mid to high 4.4s. Which I think is a really good time for him. I think with the way he plays, he's physical. He's kind of like a possession receiver, but he can do a little bit after the catch. He's obviously a great blocker and does things without the ball. So I think if he can go out there and run a 4.4, I think that'd be great for him. So, hopefully he runs for his pro day. I'm assuming that maybe, I don't know why he didn't run. Just whenever guys don't run, you kind of assume, at least I assume that, they weren't going to run a good time. That's what I typically assume because these guys know they're training leading up to these combines, so they know. They've been training for months, whatever. They're running 40 however many times a week, whatever. Maybe his 40 time wasn't something that he felt comfortable going out there and showcasing. So wants to continue to work on that. And would you say pro day was? You said it's coming up at the end of March.
No, I think it's sometime early in March. It might be towards the middle of March, but yeah. So okay. I want to say it's maybe about a week or two out. It might be less than that. So it is coming up, but he didn't do any testing. So he didn't do his vert. He didn't do the broad. He didn't do anything. So
that's strange.
I kind of felt like that was strange. So I'm hoping that there's no injury going on. I haven't heard that that's the case. So let me make sure that I do say that. And we will take a look at some of the top scores and things like that from the NFL Combine for running backs and wide receivers here in just a minute. But I will want to kind of circle back around to Brew and talk about what he would probably need to run and, like what his numbers might need to look like for him to potentially get drafted. So oh, shoot, excuse me, y'all. So next is going to be Dylan Samson, and he came in at 5'8", 201 pounds. So we felt like he would probably come in under 5'10". I think that obviously his size is not going to be it's not going to be great because there's some bigger running backs inside of this draft. I actually was listening to one of the analysts saying that teams want the bigger running backs now because the field's so spread out. It's the same thing we've talked about with Tennessee. We want to spread that field out, so facing a lot of boxes, the bigger bodies could definitely be beneficial. But if you want to look at a prototype team and a prototype player that played in the system, where everything is always spread out, okay, and where you're going up against really good competition and they're able to carry that load as a 3-down back, Dylan Samson definitely has that. So hopefully that won't be too much of a question for him. But yeah, there were some guys that were 220 pounds running in the 4.4s. Now he didn't run his 40 today. We can see the rest of his numbers. Vert at 35, which I think is really good. Broad jump is at 10.4. I think that's also good, especially if you look at his height. So those are some good numbers there. But I wish that he would have run today just because whenever I think, run at this combine, not that it necessarily means everything, but I think that it gives teams, it gives them a longer look at you because right now I think Dylan Samson's maybe like running back number 5 or 6 on most people's boards. Just talking about these so-called experts and stuff, the individual teams could feel totally different. But, I think that if he comes out and if he runs like a 4.3, which he probably would have run that. If he does that, then now all of a sudden teams are going to take a closer look at him. And, maybe he can go a little bit higher. But, we're talking about going from the second to the first round. That's millions and millions of dollars going from the end of the first to the top of the first, which I don't think Dylan Samson would do. That's also millions of dollars. But I do want to get y'all's thoughts on how do you think Dylan Samson looked out there today, and we'll pull up some of his stuff. You know what I'm saying? So y'all can kind of see how he looked moving around out there.
Yeah, he looks smooth like he always does. That's one thing about him is he's a smooth athlete. Really hate that he didn't run, but we knew he was going to look great in the drills, just like all guys will look great really in the drills. That's just the type of guy he is. I think he was a track guy in high school, so. Like you said, he would have ran. That looked really good there, but he would have ran a good time, I think, in the 40. And you just have to assume that maybe the hamstring was lingering or some. It obviously was some reason he didn't feel comfortable running the 40. I don't know what it was, but I'm pretty confident he's a fast guy. Like I'm pretty confident he's going to run. Like you said, I'm thinking sub 4.4. But kind of to your point as well about there's a lot of big backs with speed. I just think there's a flavor for kind of every team, right? Some guys want the bigger body, some guys want the smaller body. I just think at the end of the day, you look at Dylan Samson and his body of work, as a guy that played at about 200, 205 pounds, whatever, in the SEC, carrying the ball 20, 30 times a game. I mean, really didn't get banged up to the end of the year there. And even when he did, it was a soft tissue deal for his hamstring. It wasn't like he was, dealing with a shoulder or anything like that. It was a soft tissue deal that he got from freaking breaking a 90-yard touchdown run or something. He pulled it, kind of tweaked the hammy like that. So I think his durability has been pretty solid for his career. And he can catch, he can do things out of the backfield as well. And I mean, so I think some team will fall in love with him, and he has a chance to hopefully go in the second round. I think would probably be best case for him.
Yeah. Tim?
I second P, man. I ain't touching that. Like I saw a little bit of it, and he looked good for what I saw. But I'm just like you. I wish he could have ran the 40, but he didn't. So it is what it is. But he did look good in what I saw. So.
Yeah, I also think that he looked very, very good. Definitely just going through all of the drills, he probably looked. It probably looked the absolute best, really. I mean, just talking about his footwork and everything else, I think that he dropped like one pass or something, which doesn't look great. And that's something else that I want to make sure that I touch on this while we're here, because in some future videos, we're going to be talking more about this. But Tennessee needs to start throwing the football to our running backs coming out of the backfield. If y'all notice, most of those drills, they were catching the football. Like most of the drills at the NFL Combine these days are the running backs running routes and catching the ball. So we need to start to show more of that, because the players coming out of high school, the players that are transferring in from other college programs, they want to go to a school that will showcase them as a 3-down back so that their draft stock goes up. And it also helps our team out. It fits our scheme and everything so well. We've got plenty of guys that can do it inside of our current backfield. We've had them for years. We just haven't really used them. So that's something that we definitely need to start utilizing a lot more. And I will continue to harp on that point. And hopefully that does get to Coach Heupel. Not trying to tell him how to coach, but that's something that I definitely feel like we need to add to our game. So next is going to be Dante Thornton, man. And Dante had a hell of a day, just from everything that I got to see. So measures in at 6'5", 205 pounds. Arm length looks good right there. It might be a little bit short for him to be 6'5", but I don't think that that's going to be a major issue. His hand size is also a little bit smaller. He's a guy that, I kind of feel like he might be 6'5" and we're like a size 8 shoe or something like that. Which, just like things are just kind of funky, right? Like you would think a 6'5" guy should be wearing like a size 13, 14, 15. But either way, so I don't think that's going to have any bearing on his draft stock. But what is going to have a very strong bearing on his draft stock is him running a 4.30 today. Which was the second fastest time out of all wide receivers. And, him being as big as he is, obviously teams are going to take a very strong look at Dante Thornton. So, his 10-yard split is 1.51. For a guy that tall, you don't expect for him to be able to get off the football that quick. So that tells me that he can play inside or outside. Verse at 33, I think that looks good. Broad is 10.6. I think that all of his numbers, Pete, looked really good, but tell me what you think about him. And I'm going to pull him up running his 40. And we don't have much of him going through his combine work because, like we said, we didn't get to catch everything. So go ahead, Pete.
Man, so all I saw was his 40. I saw that like on social media. And I mean, he looked like he was even going faster than that. I mean, honestly, like his 10-yard split, I mean, I believe every second of that, 1.51, it could have been faster. Like, his start, it was pretty much as flawless of a run as you could almost expect. Like, I mean, just absolutely beautiful. Coming in here at 6'5", 205, long, rangy guy, and running a 4.30. And we told people, hey, this is a guy that's going to run really, really well. And he went out there and he did it. And for me, man, it almost, like when you see these guys go out here and do this stuff at the combine, it almost kind of pisses you off a little bit because you say, man, like, this is a guy, we couldn't use this guy more. We couldn't get more out of this guy.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean? 5, 4.3. But
don't get bull started.
Yeah, I'm all right. But I am happy for Dante, man. He definitely helped himself probably about as much as he could today. So kudos to him. Tip my hat to him. Congratulations. You're about to get paid, young man. So
yes, sir. Yeah, the only thing I've got to say add to that is, if you want to buy stock in a Tennessee player, I think Dante's the one. His stock definitely shot up the most off of what we've seen so far. I mean, him and James Pierce. But yeah, like 4.3 flat. That's getting it for a guy that's 6'5", and that's impressive. That's going to get he's going to get a lot of attention from a lot of teams for sure.
So I just looked it up. I don't know how true this is, but so Tyreek Hill's 10-yard split it was a 1.45, just for reference.
Wow.
1.45. So I mean, for Dante to be 6'5" and to be kind of almost in that ballpark, I mean, that just says a ton about
that is ridiculous. That's absolutely like I'm telling you, he's gonna and you know what, Tim, we talked about the same thing yesterday. We both felt like he would be the one that would just be outstanding at this combine. But you know, I don't think that his work is done necessarily. Now, again, we didn't get to see everything that he did with the on the field drills. Did he catch the ball consistently? Did he look comfortable and confident catching? How did his routes look? Things like that, because you got to be able to get in and out of your breaks and all those types of things. Teams will want to, for sure, put him through some very personal workouts where, you know, it's going to be like, hey, we want to see you doing this, that. And so he's going to have to cross off a whole lot of boxes. But I definitely think that he's going to get drafted. I'd be shocked if he goes past the 3rd round. I'd be shocked if my Falcons let him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know we got a lot of other needs, but dude, 4.3 flat. Like, we could use that too, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Get those. So anyway, he definitely made himself a whole lot of money. And P, back to your point, yeah, this could actually possibly and I'm gonna have to whisper this when I say it, but this could possibly hurt Tennessee because now he had a very good season. He was our best wide receiver last season. But I think there will be some questions about you know, why didn't he do more? Like why didn't we target him more? I don't know if we've got the best answers to those questions. You know what I'm saying? Now, one of the things go ahead.
I was saying, hey, you know, let's not open up the floodgates, but you could say the same if Omar Norman Lott has a big year. You know,
all right.
Why the heck did this guy do
Hey, look, we don't want
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to say too much because I'm looking at some of these dudes, and you know, I think that we were realizing as we're kind of going through film, and the more that you watch the film and you look at some of the individual metrics and things like that, it's like, oh boy, like they should probably be doing a little bit more. So hopefully those are some things that the staff can work on behind the scenes to make sure that our best players are playing. We're putting them in the best situations to be successful. But either way, it's ultimately always going to look good that, hey, he couldn't do what he's doing. He couldn't do at Oregon what he did at Tennessee. And Tennessee would be the school that he goes pro from. And he is going pro. So same thing that I talked about with James Pierce. I'm going to say for all of our other players, stay out of the way. You don't need to go nowhere until this draft is over with, except for to train. You know, and you don't need to be going out partying, nothing. It's because any little thing could impact your draft stock in a negative way. Y'all put in too much work. I don't think that I really got to tell any of them that, but I had to make sure that I say it anyway. So that is pretty much it. Oh, so you know what? The other thing that I did want to do real quick, y'all, I want to take a look at some of the top times right here from the NFL Combine. So bear with me for just a second. I'm gonna pull that up. And this is going to be from the wide receiver group because I do want to talk about Brew and what sort of a time is he going to need to run. Let me get rid of that. Okay, so man, Matthew Golden 4.29. That was the fastest. We already talked about Dante.
He doesn't play that fast. Matthew Golden.
No, he doesn't play anywhere near that fast. He's a guy who tests very well. So that's the other part of it. But I think that Dante does play as fast as his time looks. So that's going to be good for him. But for me, Matthew Golden, 4.29 doesn't translate at all to me. Yeah, he's a fast guy, but I don't see, you know, I would think he's like a mid 4.3 guy. So, you know, 4.3s. I mean, it's a whole bunch of 4.3. Actually, I might have had it wrong. This might have been the most 4.3s out of any draft class, right? So
yeah, maybe the most sub 4.4s.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, we're going on for a long time. There's a whole lot of 4.4s. Go ahead.
Did Travis go with this group? Because he didn't go to DB, did he? So
so Travis didn't run. He didn't run, but we already know he's going to be probably 4.3. But shoot, I mean, looking at this guy right here, Savion Williams, dude, he's 6'5". He ran a 4.48. So, you know, all the way down here, right? Like we're seeing all these players that are sub 4.5 guys. So let's take it back and let's talk about Brew. What do we realistically think that he's going to need to run for him to get drafted? Because I think he had 38 catches last season for maybe like 400 something yards. What he only had maybe like 1 or 2 touchdowns. It was something like that. So his last season at Tennessee was not the absolute best. You know, and I don't, you know, that's not his fault. He's done some really nice things. But what do y'all think he might need to run at the at his pro day for him to potentially be able to get drafted? I'm talking about anywhere at all. Just get drafted.
Well, I honestly don't know if the 40 is going to really impact him that much unless it's an outlier. Like, if he goes out there and runs like a 4.6, I think that's going to hurt him.
Mm-hmm.
Or even maybe even a high 4.5 would hurt him. And I think unless he runs like a 4.3, then I don't know if that's really going to move the needle the other way either. I think if he goes out there and runs like a mid 4.4 to like a low 4, like a 4.50, whatever, I think his draft stock pretty much stay the same. So I guess to answer your question, I think he needs to break 4.3 to increase his draft stock, in my opinion.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. So he's going. Yeah. So Tim, what do you think, man?
Oh, I don't know about this. You're talking to the wrong guy. You're talking to the slow hot guy on the podcast, bro. I'm the wrong man to ask about the speed. That was not my forte. That was not me. I don't know, man. I mean, 4.4, maybe 4.5. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I just look. Brew's one of my favorite people. Brew is like my Meshack for the basketball team, right?
Yeah.
He's one of those guys. He was the heart of the team. He was just, you could tell he's a quality person, man, just a good dude and definitely a dog, and he gave his all. And I want nothing but the best for him.
Yep, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, excellent points. Yeah, so I don't really know either. That's something it's hard to call because it might not matter too much, P. I think to your point, the biggest thing is that he can't run. I think that he probably couldn't get up over like a 4.55, honestly. Like, I think that he needs to run under a 4.55. And if he can get into the, 4.4s, that's only going to help him. And, I think that he's going to test well with everything else. He's probably going to put up a whole bunch of reps on the bench. So he's going to have to test well. We know that he's going to interview well. And, biggest thing is going to be how does he look running his routes and things like that. Now, he's listed at 209, right? So he was about 230 whenever he was playing last season. We saw at the Senior Bowl, he got down to about 215. So he's cutting the weight. Will he get down to maybe 205 by his pro day? He probably would, just so that he looks a lot more fluid as a, route runner and things like that. I'm just curious, would that maybe take away from what the scouts might see in him, or probably not. So anyway, I'm just trying to find a way for Brew to get drafted because him coming back, after all that he's done for this university, we want to see him do very well. And I think that, honestly speaking, man, he should get drafted. I mean, if I'm looking at him, his entire body of work, he should be, like a top 3 draft pick for me. But that's just because I know who Brew is on and off the field. So either way, we'll see. But let's talk about these running backs because there's some big dudes up here that are running really good. Like this dude, Jaden Blue, who I think that he's the one who got hurt for Texas, right? He's the one who was hurt for most of the season.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you, honestly.
Yeah, but he's a bigger guy. I think he's close to maybe like 6 feet, maybe like 220, running a 4.38, somewhere in that ballpark. It's some other ones on here. Montrell Johnson's got pretty good size. I think he's like 205 or whatever. Trevor Etienne would be about Dylan Sampson's size. He's probably going to be a little bit bigger. Trevion Henderson is going to be a little bit taller, but about the same weight. Donovan Edwards, he's a bigger guy. I think he's close to about, he might be 210, but 4.4. So we're seeing just a lot of bigger guys running in the 4.4. So what do y'all think? Oh, let me come down here to Quinshon Junkins because he's 220. He ran a 4.48. Where's the guy from North Carolina? Did we already pass him? The kid from North Carolina.
I don't see him.
He's another one. He's 220. I think he ran pretty well too. But here he is.
Hampton.
Yeah, man. So he goes down and runs a 4.46, and he's 220 pounds. And I think that right now he's running back number 2. Obviously, Genty will be running back number 1. I heard some people speculating on maybe Hampton could move up to running back number 1. I think that's crazy because to me, Genty is the best running back in this class. But right behind him is Dylan Sampson. But either way, what do y'all think D Samp needs to run to make sure that he can, we'll say maybe go in the second round? Because now they're talking about maybe 2 or 3 running backs going in that first round.
I don't know. You just never really know what these scouts are going to look at. Because I mean, I would say if he can run at least to like a just one of these times, like a mid to low 4.4, you would think would be good enough. But
yeah,
I know you get to the combine, you see these guys running around, looking big, looking good, and all this stuff, and running these good times. You tend to kind of fall in love with the guy sometimes. So maybe they want to take a draft pick on a guy that maybe had less production in college, but they like what they saw from him in the combine, and they think they can make something out of him. So you never really know, but I think his best case scenario for him would be to go out there and run a low 4.3, like a mid to low, like a basically he needs to come in at least second here. You know, I think he needs to be ahead of Jaden Blue. I'm not saying he has to go out there and beat that Tootin kid, which that's a blank time, but he can always
fast.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy about his time is I think his first time of the day was like a 4.38 or something. Like you typically don't see a guy make a jump that big from the first rep to the second rep. So that's unbelievable for him. But yeah, I think if he can run a 4.35, that'd be great for Dylan Sampson, you know. So
well, because look, like, I don't think that Ashton Genty, you know, he's to me, guy. I don't think he's a 4.4 guy.
You think it's 4.5 guy?
4.5 guy. Yeah, I think so. I think he's probably about a 4.5 guy. And I mean, that doesn't really, because to me, speed is not the ultimate factor for running backs.
It's not a huge deal.
Yeah.
Really not, you know? So I think that Sampson's probably got everything else, but I would say that, I feel like he needs to run in the 4.3s. I think that, you know, if he wants to go second round, he needs to run something in the 4.3s. Mid to low 4.3s, I think guarantees him a second round draft pick, but anything over that, he's playing with a whole lot of fire, man. And you know, we don't know, because once this run on the back starts, they're all going to start to come back to back to back, and you know, that could happen a little bit later. But that's going to be it, man. You know, we're not going to hold y'all for too long on a Saturday night, and you know, we will come back to y'all tomorrow with some more information, you know, on some of this stuff. And but hey, man, listen, we appreciate y'all so much. Hope that y'all have a very safe Saturday evening. And as always, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And we will see y'all tomorrow. Thanks. Peace.
Have a good one.